Amen. Good morning, everyone. Ernest Holmes wrote in an article titled, "Christ is Born in Us Today" in the Science of Mind magazine. And suddenly there was, with the angels, a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying glory to God in the highest, and peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Don't you think this means that when we are waiting on the divine presence and listening to the voice of intuition, we come into a consciousness of peace and a realization that we all belong to one human family? For surely God desires peace on earth and goodwill among all. And Christmas is the day of goodwill among all. It is a day when we find a common cause and gladly make our gifts of love to each other in the spirit of Him who said, "Love one another. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Today, as our thought ascends in prayer, our goodwill is going out to the whole world. Just think about that for a moment, how powerful that is. Today, our great desire is that peace and goodwill shall come among all people and all nations, binding all together in golden chains of love. That just really spoke to me. Join me as we take a breath and drop into the silence within. From this awareness of divine union, let us speak the word of truth together with conviction. The good I desire, I already possess. That which I ask for, I now receive. That which I want and need, I now have. I celebrate my wonderful life. And repeat this additional affirmation after me. Today I claim peace and goodwill.
Today I claim peace and goodwill
Among all people and all nations.
among all people and all nations,
Binding us all together.
binding us all together
In golden chains of love.
in golden chains of love.
Thank you.
Don't you love that quote by Ernest Holmes? Just opens my heart. So this is a profound time that we live in. The outer world may seem like it's in chaos at times, and yet we know that in spiritual terms, or what is happening spiritually, is the breakdown before the breakthrough. Because underlying all of that is a deep intention on the part of all of us to let go of those old patterns, those old structures that don't serve us, and make way for the new, what Eckhart Tolle called the new earth, and what many are calling the kingdom of heaven on earth. And this is all through the power of intention, through the power of prayer, to be all that we can be, to be that cosmic Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, God consciousness, our true selves, however you frame it. We are here to be the highest and best that we can be in this particular incarnation. And I'm reminded that when we look at one another, we see bodies, right? We see bodies. But what we're really looking at is a disguise. We're looking at a disguise for what lies within, which is unlimited being, spirit beings with unlimited potential. Feel that. Beings that are eternal, that this is just part of our journey, right? And yet a very important part, because we get to, in these earth suits, to discover our divinity. and then to find a way to share it, to share our gifts and talents, to share the love, the peace, the joy, and the harmony that we are with all people everywhere. So, this recognition of our divinity is the recognition of this cosmic Christ consciousness that Jesus was modeling, and that he was, letting us know, this is all about you too. This is not just about me, is what he was saying. He said, you are the light. He said, the things that I do, even greater things you shall do. He was letting us know that he was simply there to share what the journey is all about, and who we are in truth. These amazing beings of potential, pure light, pure love, pure peace, pure joy. That's who we are. And powerful co-creators with spirit through the power of our thought. So this has been a year of, it's the 100th anniversary of Science of Mind, these beautiful teachings that we draw from. And I always like to say the science of mind and spirit, because it really is. When we say the mind, we're talking about the mind of God, the science or the laws of the mind of God, and the understanding of the law of God, and also the understanding of the love of God and the spirit and the nature of the divine in, through, and as us and all around us. So we've been deepening into our understandings of this all year long, these beautiful teachings that were so beautifully expressed by Ernest Holmes, a modern day mystic and master teacher, a man that was greatly loved in his time, and still fairly modern. He made his transition in 1960. And our whole movement and other movements beyond that are in the New Thought tradition have been so inspired by his teachings that we embrace his teachings to this day. And also because he said, we're open at the top, we also draw in things like the teachings of Rumi, or the teachings of Buddha, or the beautiful Hindu teachings, or the what am I trying to say? The great ancient teachings in the Chinese traditions, the Tao and Confucianism. There are so many threads of truth that run through all of these different traditions. The Native American traditions too, the indigenous cultures all over the world. We're all teaching the same thing when you look at the essence. And so it's a reminder in this 100 years of Science of Mind that we as a community have made a commitment to be the presence of love and to co-create heaven on earth. How cool is that? And the realization that we had today when we were gathering in circle, the hospitality team and the others who came earlier, we had our opening prayer, and then we were reflecting on how we have co-created heaven on earth in this community. We have such love for one another. We have such care for one another. And we feel such joy in each other's presence. The joy and the laughter and the fun that we have before service, you got to come and join. You got to come and join us. It's so much fun, right? Michelle joined us for the first time today and got a taste of it. And Deb, we pulled Deb into the circle so she could get a taste too. But our intention is very high, and we are just absolutely here to not only be that, but to spread it and to invite others who are in resonance with this teaching to come along with us, to come along on this journey with us, because it's a wonderful journey. It's a wonderful journey. And so I want to leave this by keeping our promise to fulfill this whole teaching about a wonderful world. But first, I want to talk about another promise that somebody kept, and this relates to a little boy by the name of Johnny. And it was Christmas afternoon, and the local pastor was walking through his churchyard and noticed that in the live nativity, he was kind of admiring it, and then he looked down and realized the baby Jesus is gone. And he gets on his cell phone. He starts to call the police. He's thinking, oh, he's going, oh my gosh, who did this? And then he looks down the street, and there goes Johnny with the baby Jesus in his red wagon. And so he walks up to Johnny. He said, Johnny, I see you have the missing baby Jesus. Can you tell me why you took him, son? And he said, yes, I'm keeping my promise to the baby Jesus. He said, before Christmas, I prayed to the baby Jesus, please give me a red wagon. And if you get me a red wagon, I'll take you for a ride around the block. So Johnny kept his promise. Oh my goodness. And so I'm keeping my promise today to share another piece of It's a Wonderful Life, a beautiful holiday movie that's just full of messages of spiritual truth. And so I'm now toward the end of the movie, and our hero George Bailey is badly shaken when he has that journey with Clarence on what life would be like without him. It would no longer be Bedford Falls. It would be something else. I mean, it was a really scary scene. And so he realized that he did have a powerful and positive impact on his community. So he, in desperation, he says, "Can I please live again?" And Clarence said, "Of course." So he goes back, and he is just bubbling over with love because of the love that Clarence has shown for him. His heart is wide open. He just wants to share that love. He just can't help himself. Anybody feel that way? I know I feel that way sometimes. My heart is so bursting. I've got to go and hug everybody. Well, this is how George was feeling. And so he's going down the street, and he's hugging people and kissing them and telling them how much he loves them. And he's headed home knowing that he is going to be arrested for the missing money. There was money that was missing for the savings and loan to the tune of like $8,000. But he's just so full of love, and he's known his life has made a difference. So he's just going to meet whatever is before him. So he goes to his home, and when he's there, he meets his family. He's hugging and kissing them, and suddenly the sheriff's department comes in with a warrant for his arrest. And at the same time, the townspeople are pouring in from everywhere, with money in hand. All those years through his home savings and loan, he's made it possible for affordable housing for his community. And when they had heard what the shape that he was in, they all got together. They came, and they're bringing their money, and they're throwing it in a hat, and right in front of all of the police officers. and so the police officers just kind of throw away the the warrant, and they start putting money in too. So love is catching, compassion is catching. Think about it. What happens when we all get into the spirit of why we're here? We're all here to support one another. And I think of the word compassion. It's love in action, isn't it? Compassion is love in action. It's wanting to alleviate the suffering of another. And I think about the kinds of things that take place this time of year and really throughout the year. And one of them is the layaway angels. Anybody hear about that in the news? Yeah, people who decide suddenly they're just going to go to Walmart or whoever and pay off everybody's layaways, right? And I was talking to Dan about that today, and just imagine what it's like for all of those people, how many lives that touches, and what a difference that makes for them. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. And then in our own community, we have an adoptive family that we've taken on this year, and the love is just poured in, and we're going to be able to share that with them after the service. But I'm so touched by what happens when everybody opens their hearts. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing. So how do we keep our own promise? and live our lives, live from our true selves and earn our wings. How do we do that? And of course, we have that beautiful model of the movie that just reminds us of that. We have the models that I just talked about of people um, um, take, all the different ways of love and action. And I'm reminded that it's a result of living in this question, this particular question. What would love do? What would love do? So no matter what the difficulty, I've got to find did I leave my bell? I got to get my bells. Okay. So when we find ourselves in a difficulty, what's the question we ask? All right. And no matter what the opportunity is, and no matter what the diagnosis is. Right. Einstein said it so beautifully. This is one of my all-time favorite quotes. He said, "The significant problems that you and I face cannot be solved at the level of thinking." We know that means fearful thinking, right? At the level of thinking that created them. I'm going to read that again. The significant problems that you and I face cannot be solved at the level of thinking that created them. We have to up-level our thinking, right? And the way we up-level our thinking is this. We get away from the thinking that puts us back in the idea that we are just these bodies, these limited ideas of ourselves that we have. And we have to break through and begin to see from the cosmic Christ consciousness. To see as God sees is what that means. To see that we are pure spirit, pure potential, that we have within us unlimited possibilities, and that we learn to use our minds to unfold those possibilities in our lives. So it means that we have to have some discipline about our thinking and not let our thinking go off in the directions of lack and limitation, focusing on what's missing, what's wrong, complaining, gossiping, all of those things that don't serve us. It really means a strong discipline with our own thinking. And so the truth is that there is no problem on earth that love cannot heal. Love in whatever form that it shows up. And love, when we think about the essence of the meaning, is divine givingness. It's about giving of ourselves. Earlier in the month, we talked about the idea of think give instead of think get. And when our board was together just recently, we were contemplating that. We were reading our beautiful vision that's out on the wall out there for our community and wanting to spread and share these beautiful teachings. And we thought to ourselves, it's important for us to think give when new people come into our community instead of get. We're not here to get members. We're here to give and to share these teachings. We're here to give and share these teachings and to think give. So it's all of those little ways in which we just begin to shift our thinking that are so important. So this is the thing that is so wonderful about love. We know love kindles the hearts of others. When we share love gets the sparks of love start flying in each and every person. So when the impulse within us starts flowing, have you ever noticed how it's almost unstoppable? It just keeps on giving. It's an inexhaustible reservoir within us that just keeps flowing when we stay tapped into it. So I'd like to share a little story that I think illustrates this so beautifully. So all the children were practicing their parts for a Christmas pageant, including a little boy who had the part of the innkeeper. And his part was simply this: there's no room in the inn. So he went home and he looked in the mirror and he practiced and he practiced and he practiced. There's no room in the inn. There's no room in the inn. There's no room in the inn. There's no room in, he said it many, many times over so that he could make sure he knew his lines. So then it came time for the play, for the pageant. And Mary and Jesus were walking across the stage and he was standing behind the cardboard door of the inn. And they come and they knock on the door and he opens up the door. And they said, "Do you have any room in the inn?" And he said, "Sure, come on in." Why? Because his heart was so full of compassion and love. He couldn't help himself. That's how it works, right? I love that. Oh, so we receive our wings and we fly every time we follow the impulse of love. That's it. That's it. We are all earth angels. And so it's important for you to claim that about yourself because it's the truth. I know many of you very, very deeply, and I can say in my heart of hearts that you are earth angels. So the real message of Christmas then is this. The real message of Christmas is connecting with the love, the light of love within you, and sharing it. And sharing it. What is yours to do? So I'd like to practice that right now, if you would. I'd like you to think of something that you can give to the person next to you. And you might have to get together in threes or whatever, but something you can give to the person next to you. And then just simply say to them, "I give you the gift of," and you fill in the blank. So turn to the person next to you. "I give you the gift of." Beautiful. So let's take a breath together. And my friends, we really do live in a very profound time in history on this planet because we have discovered something really powerful, haven't we? We've discovered the power of following our heart, of keeping our minds focused on that which is good, true, and beautiful, to keep our minds focused on our visions. So no matter what's going on the planet, all the crises that there are, and we've Michelle and I had a talk about this the other day. There's a website called the Optimist Daily where you can receive something daily about all the good things that are going on the planet. That's a great way to keep yourself focused. But I also know that there are people like us on the planet that care very deeply for all life and are working to resolve these crises, just as we are in our own lives and in our own communities, in our own families. And so I know, because of who we are and whose we are, that we have the power to transform all of this, to transcend all of this, and to truly make a difference. And so for this, I just grant to all of you, knowing you already received them, but I grant to all of you your angel wings.